Cyprus has a better passport, Georgia has a better tax rate, sure, but there are many things that people don't tell you when you're comparing Cyprus and Georgia. For example, Cyprus only requires 60 days per year for tax residency in certain circumstances. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you the full breakdown of Georgia versus Cyprus across cost of living, traveling, tax, business, and everything else that's important when choosing a base for yourself to set up. So if you're new here, my name's Dylan. I'm 23. I live in Georgia. I pay 1% tax in Georgia. I've also bought property, set up my bank accounts, and built my structure from Georgia. Now, I've also dug right into the system in Cyprus, the tax setup, and the way that things are structured there. And so in this video, I'm going to be giving you real numbers and a very real breakdown. Now, there's three things that I want to cover in detail in this video, and that's going to be the taxes of both the setup that's actually available to you, how much time you actually have to spend in the country to make it worth your while, and what the actual costs of living in these countries are. I'm not just going to give you a simple Georgia wins just because it's where I chose for myself, but I am going to give you the real numbers and the real stats. So let's jump in with the tax systems. So the taxes in Georgia for a small business are very simple. If you have an IE, which is an individual entrepreneurship, essentially a sole trader, and you have small business status, which means that you do under 500,000 lari per year, which is around 200,000 USD, and you also aren't in one of the excluded categories, you're going to pay 1% tax on your turnover. So if you're doing 100K per year, you're paying $1,000 in tax. It's that simple. There's no corporate layer. There's very low bureaucracy. You can get a bank account set up very easily, and you're good to go with that 1% tax. So that's how I pay my tax in Georgia for the business activities that I carry out in Georgia as an individual entrepreneur. Now, Cyprus is a little bit more complicated. The tax system is still good in Cyprus, but it's especially recently been under a little bit more scrutiny as a part of the EU and actually breaking that down. So in Cyprus, you want to set up a company, you're going to pay 15% corporate tax on the profits of that company, and then you're going to pay yourself in dividends. Now, if you're a non-dom resident, then those dividends are going to be exempt from Cyprus tax for up to 17 years. Now, realistically, once you stack the taxes together and you have a proper setup in Cyprus, you're going to be looking at an effective tax rate likely between 15 and 18%, not the 0% that many people advertise and say is possible. If you want to do this properly, you're realistically going to be paying between 15 and 18% in Cyprus. Now, for anybody who's earning under that 180 to 200K USD threshold, then Georgia's rate isn't even close. Obviously, the 1% is going to be a big win for you. Now, once you're in company status and you're looking at setting up your company, if you're doing more than that, then they start to compete a lot more closely, okay? Georgia's LLCs follow the Estonian tax system with a 15% corporate tax and 5% withholding. So it can be roughly the same if you are going to need to use an LLC in Georgia. Now, the second thing I want to cover is the time that you actually need to spend in these countries, because Cyprus does have an option which allows you to be a tax resident there with only 60 days per year. Now, there are a few requirements for this, but this is much different to Georgia's 183-day rule, which is what we see in a lot of countries around the world. Now, in Cyprus, if you have a permanent base there and you spend 60 days per year, provided you're not spending more time anywhere else or becoming a tax resident anywhere else, you can qualify to be a tax resident there in Cyprus, which is great for those of you who like to travel and continue to move around. Now, if you're not going to keep a permanent base there and you want to be a tax resident, then it is going to fall back to the 183-day rule, which is the same as Georgia anyway, and it's the same as most places around the world. Now, registering the businesses in either place doesn't actually require tax residency, but tax residency is generally a very key part of breaking away from your home country's tax system and actually making sure that you can get away from the original taxes you're paying wherever you're moving from. Now, one thing to note, Australia, for example, one of their tests of breaking away the tax system is actually proving that you have a permanent domicile somewhere else. So you've actually established yourself somewhere else. If you're going to go to Cyprus, stay 60 days there and continue floating around without a permanent base, that's not going to look very good for that home country anyway. So you do want to be careful that regardless of where you're getting that tax residency, you're actually breaking the ties and actually checking the tests of your home country to make sure that you're breaking away properly, because every country is different. And if you get that wrong, it's not going to matter anyway. Now, with all that said, if you're somebody who can't commit to 6 months per year in one place and you like to float around a month here, a month there, and continue moving, then Cyprus is probably going to be a better option for you than Georgia, because you can stay there for 60 days per year, you can get that tax residency, and you can use that as a part of your strategy to break away from your home country and obviously pay taxes then in Cyprus. Now, the third thing that I want to cover, which in my opinion is very important, is going to be cost and complexity, because to be honest, Georgia is a lot cheaper and easier to set up. It's a very simple process of setting up a business in Georgia. It can look like arriving in Tbilisi, getting yourself a Georgian SIM card, card, getting yourself a virtual address and going to the service hall, which can be done all in the same day within a couple of hours, and you can have a business and a bank account registered immediately. Now on the other side, Cyprus can be quite a bit more complicated. You're likely going to work with an accountant to register a company, get everything incorporated properly, and get it set up. Obviously, as a part of the EU, their rules, regulations, their scrutiny is a lot heavier, so it is going to be more costly and more timely to get your business, get your bank account, and actually have everything running in Cyprus. Now, in terms of cost of living, Georgia is also significantly cheaper. I did a recent video on YouTube breaking down my cost of living in Georgia, and it came to less than $930 per month is kind of a baseline cost of living. Cyprus, you're going to likely be spending $1,500 to $2,000 per month. It's getting more and more expensive there also. You know, Cyprus already had quite a big and significant rush of people moving there and setting up there. So, you know, they are riding that tourism boom essentially, and the costs are rising there. So the cost of living is going to be quite a bit higher in Cyprus. So with that being said, if simplicity and costs are very important factors to you, as important as the tax rate, then I would say Georgia does win this cost and complexity category by far. It is much, much quicker, easier, and simpler for most nationalities to go to Georgia, get a business set up, start operating, and then also for residency and bank accounts and that sort of thing, even credit, it's all going to be much, much simpler. Now, one side note that I want to just touch on, which is not a key part of the decision for many people, but property investment is also significantly better in Georgia. I recently bought an apartment, as I've mentioned to you guys, for less than 50K USD in Batumi. So if that's something that you're interested in particular, check out the free quiz in my bio, which is going to help you to decide if Georgia is actually a place that's good for you in any case. And if you are particularly interested in property, add that in your quiz answers and you will get some steps that can kind of help you to check into the Georgia property market. But it is a very, very booming market for investment right now, in my opinion. So guys, with all of that being said, the honest answer is this: if you're earning less than 180K per year, you want simplicity, you want a lower cost of living and lower taxes, then Georgia is going to be the better option for you. Now, if you are earning well above that, you want EU access, and you also genuinely cannot commit 6 months per year to your tax residency, then Cyprus is probably going to be the better option, okay? That is the simple truth. These are both good in different ways for different things. Now, again, it depends on where you're at in your journey and what is more important to you. Now, like I said, if Georgia sounds like a better fit for you, I have a few resources in the description. Number one is the free quiz to see if Georgia is a good fit. Number two is the personalized guide, which you can actually use to get a full step-by-step on how you can go from wherever you're at based on your home country, your income, to a full setup in Georgia. And number three is actually the school community. We have around 170 members. We do weekly group calls, and that's all about Georgia. Everyone's in there asking questions, networking. Like I said, we have a very solid community there. So check out those resources if Georgia is particularly interesting for you. I know that would be very helpful, guys. I hope this video has been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And if you think that I've missed anything, I look forward to hearing it, and I will see you soon.